Greetings, fantasy NBA fans. Again, trying to remain efficient here. I'm going to use the spreadsheets instead of Sleeper. I just feel like it works out a little bit better that way. We were 9-3 this week. We were on a pace there for 11-1 at one point, but a couple of things caught us there at the end. But 9-3 is a pretty good week. I was out of town, was not keeping track of my stuff in as efficient manner as I usually do, just because of 2 days of driving and hanging out with family and stuff, which I would recommend everybody keep that work-life balance. That's for sure. So yeah, I just did the best I could, and it actually worked out pretty well. So let's just start with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, this is a team in a league that might get nuked. There was a request to start another one, so I got the Thunder in the new one. And it hasn't really gotten going yet. We've been kind of taking it slow and getting filled and waiting for reliable owners and that sort of thing. So I don't know that this team is actually going to last. If it does not, then I've already got one ready to take its place. I did just get a trade done for like a really low piece, very unvaluable piece. And it's kind of a tester just to see if it gets processed, because I really don't even know if it's going to. We did have a guy come in and just spam the chat with a bunch of racist stuff. I got confirmation that that person has been banned from the app, from the platform. So maybe we can keep it going. I don't really care one way or the other. I just don't want to drop it unless it's officially going to be dropped. So I sent a message out to the commissioner, and I have not heard from him back yet, which is probably a sign that it's going to fold at some point. But I have the Thunder. So it's a 32-team league. We all took an entire roster. I turned down trades for just about everybody and just kept my roster intact, and that put me at 5-1. And the only loss I've got is to the top scorer, and he did a bunch of trades. He has a very thin team. Got rid of pretty much all his draft picks, some studs, and just has a really, really good starting lineup and really not much else. So if he has any injuries or anything, he's pretty much toast, in my opinion. So we're 5-1. We are fourth place in the West. There are 4 undefeated teams, 3 in front of me in the West and 1 in the East. But we are first in scoring. So I've scored more points than anybody else. But of course I managed to lose a game, and I'm pretty much just running the Oklahoma City Thunder roster. And it's been tricky because there's been lots of injuries and lots of scrambling as far as figuring out who's going to, fill the spots whenever somebody else is out. So feeling pretty good about it. 8 teams make the playoffs in this format out of 32. And again, I'm 4th in the West, which I think would have made me like the 5th seed. I think I'm basically the first 5-1 team after the 4 undefeated teams. So if that league survives, it appears as though I will be in pretty good shape. I can also tell you in the other league where I have the Thunder, pretty much same philosophy. I don't plan on trading anybody, just plan on riding it out with that roster, and we'll see how that goes. I did have the highest score this week, which also made me highest score for the season. So just so you know that. And then I have a friend of mine who's actually in this league, and he was second for the week. So we did really, really well. The best point guard in the league this week was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I did very well on that. I had 5 top picks and 0 worst picks, which means I'm definitely picking the right games for my guys. I was a 90% accuracy. So out of my point total, I could not have done a whole lot better. That pretty much covers that one. You'll notice on my spreadsheet here, I do a little breakdown of where each player ends up each week, starting for the most part the same people every single time, with the exception of I did work in a start for Ben Carlson this week. He's a rookie This is a column over here that I'll end up deleting because it'll go to week 6. And, there's 10 starters on this. And I only have one team really. So I have to really kind of pick those games where, maybe someone will get some garbage minutes or something like that. But that team's doing pretty well. Next step here is the Detroit Pistons. In fact, I think I am just going to delete this column right here. I had a few players that were not Pistons, and it's so few that it doesn't really matter. This team is 4-1. It is a 32-team league, but only 6 teams make the playoffs in this league. There are 6 undefeated teams as of this moment. So even at 4-1, I am in 7th place and outside looking in. But I do think I'm probably going to be okay. At some point, those other teams have to beat each other up, and they'll get some losses in there. I'm 3rd in scoring in this league, which to me means I'm probably going to fall into a playoff spot somewhere. Long way to go, though. 7th place overall just because I lost a game. And again, I had 5 top picks and 0 worst picks on my lineup this week. So I was at 96% efficiency, which is really good. And I was just 8th in scoring for the week, but I'm still 3rd in scoring for the season. So pretty good. Best thing I can say about this team is that there was a Jaden Ivey sighting, and I did start him, and I think he got me like 9.5 points, but I was just happy to lock those in. I'm really happy to see Jaden Ivey back. There's another team looking for him to come back too. Just a point of interest, this team is 7th in points against. So there have been a lot of points scored against this team, and I'm 4-1, which I will take. So Thunder and Pistons both doing pretty well. And again, I was gifted the Pistons roster. I think I traded Tobias Harris for a first-round pick in the future, and I kept everybody else. So I'm in pretty good shape here. But yet another reason why I kind of need Ivy back. That's for sure. So let's move on. This is Sleeperholics Anonymous. This was a team that I took over basically just on a whim, and again, probably have a sleeper problem as a result of this league here because I didn't need to. I'm sure I don't need to be spending the time on it, but I was probably sitting there, looking at my phone, not doing anything, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. So Sleeperholics Anonymous, we are 6-4. It is a 32-team league. This is a league where I took over a roster that was not an NBA roster. It was put together by whoever, whenever. And historically, this team has been really, really bad. So I don't really expect a whole lot out of this. I'd like to probably finish somewhere in that 500 range, maybe a little bit better. 32-team league, 6 teams make the playoffs. Right now, 3 teams are undefeated. I am in 15th place, and I am 13th in scoring. That is not the kind of thing I don't think that's going to get me to where we're competing for a championship quite yet. We did this week have the highest points in a loss in the league, 145.5. So that's actually encouraging. I had 4 top picks and 0 worst picks. So out of these first 3 teams, I have 14 top picks and 0 worst picks. So I am definitely picking the right games to lock in for point totals. This was at an 89% efficiency, so actually could have even done better. This team is playing a 10-0 team this week. They are the number 1 team, and so we'll definitely get an idea of how we stack up. I'll probably take some chances as far as if someone doesn't really exceed their expectations or projections on their point total, then I probably won't lock them in. I'll try to wait for those big scoring nights and see what happens. So Sleeperholics 6-4. Another one I probably didn't necessarily need to take over, but I went ahead and did, Sporty McSportball team. This one's kind of exciting, and I do remember picking this one to take over simply because, man, there's some young, good talent here, and I have a lot of draft picks, and I've hung on to them. So pretty good core here, I think, for future growth. Sporty McSportball, though, is 1-4. In fact, we have lost 4 straight games. We started off 1-0 and have kind of tanked since then. I say tanked, not on purpose, that's for sure, because that's just not my style. But 1-4 in a 32 team league. This one has 8 that make the playoffs. I don't know that this team's going to make that. And I do know I don't have my pick. I have some first round picks, but none of them are mine. So I'm going to keep going as if I'm competing, because I don't want to help out that guy that has my pick by giving him a better pick. So we are 26th place out of 32 teams, 24th in scoring. So again, I don't think we're really going to go anywhere. We are 18th in points against, which means we haven't really had that hard of a time of it schedule-wise. We had 5 top picks in this team and 1 worst pick. So this is our first team with a worst pick. We were at 91% efficiency, and we were 19th in points for this week, which all just points to this is a very mediocre team. There's not a whole lot we can do. Tons of draft capital, waiting for Porter to come back. Probably still a few weeks away, but when he comes back, that's going to help a lot. Fontecchio's been a nice little surprise. I mean, he gets us 20, which is really not enough. You need guys who are going to get you, 35 or 40. But Fontecchio might be developing. Looking pretty solid, though, with a young guy like that. Coward, Murray, Boyles, these are rookies. Fontecchio's not, but those 2 guys are. And they're contributing. I mean, I can't really complain. If they develop into stars, then we're set. Nembhard is also a star in the making. And we're kind of looking for him to get healthy and stay healthy and participate. We do get to play a 0-5 team this week. They are in 32nd place. They are in last place. That'll be a pretty good measuring stick as far as where we're at. We should, even with our scoring, we should probably beat them by a pretty sound margin. So if we don't, then just know it's going to be a long, long year. That's for sure. Sporty McSport Ball. Very spread out on our starting assignments here. I've been basically just putting in anybody who's playing that night, and if they have a pretty solid over the projection night, I've been locking them in. So that's the way, especially playing against a team that we outman for a change. I'll take 1.3 times the projection. If somebody can hit it, I'll lock it in most likely. So Sporty McSport Ball, there we're at. Here's the Celtics. This was another team that I ended up taking over the entire Celtics roster, and I did not trade anybody away on this one. So I have pretty much everybody. And this one I haven't really been spreading out too much. We've gotten a couple of young guys in there to start in Walsh and Gonzalez, but mostly we're just going with the guys who we think will be scoring. So Celtics are 4-1. Again, this is a 32-team league. We are in 8th place, but only 6 teams make the playoffs. So we got a little bit of work to do. We have won 4 straight. So last team, Sporty, lost 4 straight. This one has won 4 straight. We started 0-1 and then won the next 4. We are 11th in scoring, which puts us on kind of that outside looking in range as it relates to the playoffs. We had 3 top picks and 0 worst picks, so we're still doing pretty good there, 88% efficiency. And we were 13th for the week in scoring. I did take over as co-commissioner, and I did invite my friend to this league because as I took over for co-commissioner, I booted a guy who had cut his whole roster, and I had to go in and fix it all, and then I let my friend take over that team. So it's been real quiet since I took over. I think we're probably going to end up with a decent playable league here, that's for sure. But Celtics are 4-1, and we're looking fine. Tulsarado, Bouldorados, Tulsahoma Bouldorados. We are 3-2. This is a 16-team redraft, so this is one of the first ones that's not a 32 team. It's only 16, but 8 teams make the playoffs. So half the league makes the playoffs. We are currently in 7th place. We are 3rd in scoring, and we have won 2 straight. We were 2nd in points for the week, and we were 96% efficient. 4 top and 0 worst picks. So again, very good at picking the right nights to lock in those points. Best thing I can say about this team is Kobe White. is back. That is going to only make this team better. And we're just going to keep on rolling with this one. But it's a redraft, so there's no dynasty, there's no draft picks. It's just try and win it this year and then start over next year. So Tulsarado 3-2, 16-team redraft. Next one we're going to spend a little time on. This is the team that I have spent the most time with over the last several years. And I just got to say, we're doing better than usual, which is good, but it's still kind of disappointing. Oklahoma Outlaws are 3-7. We did beat our opponent this week, a 7-1 team, by the way, but we lost to the league average by about 10, which is a little disappointing. Like I said, and I would think normally if you beat a 7-1 team, you must have done pretty well, but I think it more so has to do with they did poorly. So it's a 14-team dynasty. 6 teams make the playoffs. I don't know that this team's going to make it. I can tell you if you get to the consolation bracket and you win it, they're going to give you a end of the first round extra draft pick, which I have won the consolation bracket in this league before, and I did not get that pick back then, so I'm a little upset by that. But this is the one league again where you have to pick who you're going to start before the game. You don't get to lock in the points afterward. So, that being said, I had 4 top picks and 2 worst picks. But I think, again, as long as you're ahead of the 500 mark on that, you're probably doing okay. We're in 10th place at 3-7 out of 14. We're 10th in scoring, which means we're right about where we should be. And we're 8th in points against, which means we haven't hit the schedule winch that bad. We were 75% efficient, so it's a little harder to be efficient in this one because you got to pick it beforehand. And we were 8th in scoring this week. Jaden Ivey, we did not get him in the lineup this week in this league. And like I said, he wouldn't have scored a ton for us anyway, but I think we're going to need him. Aaron Gordon is out now for about a month. He's been a rock star for us this year, and I'm probably going to have to sit and wait on him to come back. So we need Ivy here. We have a guy named Rollins who I think as long as I can't remember who's out. It might be Porter who's out. But somebody's out, and so Rollins is filling in, and that dude is killing it. And I got him off the waiver wire. So he saved our bacon a little bit. Clegane is coming on. He really rocked it this week and helped us out, that's for sure. I did pick the absolute worst night for Westbrook. He just keeps showing up in my lineup, and he's the warrior, man. And you'll notice here on this spreadsheet between Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook, both have started 40 games for me for this team over the course of my involvement with it. And now Westbrook is going to start jumping, I think, ahead of that because Gordon's going to be out a while. So it's just hard to keep him out. He's going to keep scoring, and that's just the way it is. So, yeah, I picked the worst Westbrook game. And I also picked the worst Derek White game, which was upsetting as well. Paul George made the lineup. I traded a second-round pick for Paul George, just thinking maybe I could get a little scoring punch, and he provided it. He did a good job. So he's off the IR, and he appears healthy, and we're hoping that I can get some points out of him every week. Edgecombe actually ended up injured, and so he's out. The beauty of this team, though, it's so deep. And I've got guys on the bench that I've had to make some lineup decisions on because they're projected to do okay, but they're just not projected to do enough compared to the guy ahead of them. So with some people hurt, we should be able to fill in, frankly, next guy up kind of a thing. We play a 3-7 team this week, so we're both 3-7, and I feel like that's going to give us a pretty good idea where we stand. I would really like to beat the league average. But we do have teams. I mean, if I score 230, that's a pretty good week. We got guys scoring 370. I mean, we got guys scoring a lot of points. So, maybe I need to readjust and just focus on the opponent rather than the average. But I was hoping to get this team to 500. It does not look like that's the way it's going to go. But you know what? This week we went 1-1. String a few of those together and then get lucky on a couple others, and maybe we get there. So, Outlaws are 3-7. 7. A couple more leagues to talk about here. The Little Rock Boulders. This was a league that took the place of a dynasty league that ended up kind of dissolving. It is a 18 team dynasty, and last year it was a 24 team. So I have a feeling there were probably 6 inactives or something, and so they just invited the actives and made it 18. So we drafted before the season started, and this team is undefeated. They are 4-0-1. We had a tie in there that was really, really frustrating to watch. We are in first place in the East. We are 5th in scoring, and we are 14th in points against, which means we're getting a little bit lucky, I think. But 8 teams make the playoffs in an 18-team dynasty, so I feel like we're definitely in the top 8. And I feel like we probably just need to maintain the course. We did 5 top picks and 1 worst pick. We had 96% efficiency. I'll take that every week. I don't think there's any problem there. We were 4th in scoring for the week. Tyler Harrow tonight is planning on playing. In fact, last I checked, he was projected to be in the lineup. So if I have to cut someone, it's probably going to be Buddy Hield. But I'm going to get Tyler Harrow in the lineup, which is also going to help. Kobe White is on this roster, and he just came back last week. So both of those coming in now mean with us in first place in the East, we should just solidify that. I feel like we should be doing even better. Still a weakness at small forward. Neesmith is out 1 month, and I'm not sure how that's going to correct itself until he gets back. I am really just working in Hauser and just working in some randos is the way that's going. So hoping with these injured guys coming back and me just continuing to manage things, we at least end up in the playoffs and see if we can make a run. So Little Rock is 4-0-1 and the 18-team dynasty. Last NBA team to look at here, this is the Oklahoma Supersonics. This was sort of the gateway team that got me into all the other leagues this year. I got into this one, and then I kept getting invites to other ones, kind of a thing. So took a lot of heat for trading for Steph Curry. I have already traded him away, if you'll remember. I did trade for Draymond Green, pretty much straight up for Dalton Connect, and just wanted some consistent scoring, and I think that he's been able to provide that some. I think I was pretty excited last week because I didn't even have to put him in my lineup, which means I was a little deeper than I had been in the past, and things looked pretty good. This is the second worst team in the history of this league. And it's not even really, I think it's getting closer now because we're 3-2. So we have a winning record right now after 5 weeks. And I think in the long run, we've already made this team better. We just have. We still have a couple of first round picks to work with, not our own. But the guy who I gave my first round pick to for Curry was certain he'd have a top 10 pick. And I'm not actually sure that's going to be the case. We'll see. But Oklahoma Supersonics are 3-2. This is a 24-team dynasty, and it is an orphan team that I picked up. And this team was terrible when I got it. We are currently in 13th place, and we have won 2 straight. So I'm really hoping to kind of string something together here if possible. But we're 17th in points for, and we're 20th in points against, which means if that schedule winch starts to get us, man, we might be in some big trouble. 8 teams make the playoffs. I did 3 top picks and 1 worst pick on this team, and I was at 90%, which is pretty much my benchmarks, I think, though that means I had a pretty good week. We were first in scoring for this week. No, we were not. We were 15th in scoring. I misread my own writing there. I was like, how's that possible? 15th in scoring this week. So we've got some improving to do, that's for sure. I did go back and look. This team is 3-2. All 3 wins are against 0-5 teams. You know, on the one hand, that means we haven't really beat anybody. But on the other hand, this team did not always beat those teams. And now it looks like we're at least doing that. Again, second worst team in the history of this league. since its inception. And there are some teams that have dominated this league that I'm probably going to have to be in it for many years to catch up to. But again, if I finish the season around 500 on this, I'll feel pretty good about it. And again, I've got a couple of first round picks to work with. They might be kind of late. I think I've got some guys that are doing pretty well this season. So those first round picks might actually be closer to, second round, third round picks, depending on how those guys do. But I can tell you, I'm feeling pretty good about where this team is at. We've got some young pieces that we can work with. And, I still think Draymond's tradable, especially when the playoff push starts and somebody needs that flexibility, power forward center guy. I've got Huerter here who, now that Harrow is back, I don't know, now Kobe White is back, I don't know that Huerter is necessarily going to be reliable. So, a couple of things here just to kind of work with. Aldama, I'm pretty happy with. I traded Riseacre, and maybe I end up sorry for that 5 years down the road. But for right now, Aldama's doing fine. I did end up in a trade for Grimes rather than Sharp, which I still think is probably going to be, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. So Bruce Brown, by the way, on this team, who's been very close to being cut a few times. Now with Aaron Gordon out, maybe he ends up sliding in the lineup somewhere, getting some more minutes. I'm not sure, but that is the update for the NBA for week 5. And all I can tell you is, there's typically 20, 21 weeks involved in the season. So we are a quarter of the way through. But if I can work each quarter, for example, this team, each quarter is 3-2. I'm looking okay. I'm looking like a competitive and at least, average, a little margin above better than average team. And that's kind of where I just want to be with this one and then build on that in the future. So if you guys ever, have any questions about anything, you can definitely post something in the comments. I'll see if I can check those and get back with you. But just no real transactions or anything this week. Kind of a busy week. I had some holiday stuff with some family out of state, and so I didn't really get to do much, and it still kind of worked out okay. So maybe that's the lesson for this week. All right. You guys stay safe, and I will check back in with you next week.